Hi, my name is Stacy Sailors, and I'm a board-certified behavior analyst. I've been working in the field of behavior analysis for almost 20 years, and during that time, I've racked up a lot of experience working with families on how to manage behavior in a variety of settings, from schools, community settings, and homes. I'm hoping during this time to share some of my experience with you. This is the first of my how-to series, and in this episode, we will focus on how to create a workspace in your home for both working and learning. Now, more than ever, it's important to create a space for working and learning. With social distancing, our homes have turned into the places we do everything. This is the place where we sleep, we eat, we play, we bathe, we hang out, and amongst all of these things, this is now the place we have to learn and work. Having your home be both the space you hang out in and the space you work in, well, this causes space confusion. In behavioral terms, we call this poor stimulus control, meaning that the things in your environment which signal or tell you what you should be doing are all mixed up. You walk into your living room with your laptop, and while your brain is telling you to work, your environment is saying, hang out, chill, watch Netflix. What's this Tiger King everyone's talking about? Space confusion can lead to reduced motivation, reduced focus, increased distractions, and reduced productivity. Now, imagine how hard it is for our kids. They probably have even less motivation than you do to get stuff done, especially schoolwork. And honestly, they're probably having a harder time than we are in processing all of this. This space confusion can lead to even more tension in our homes. Parents are stressed. They are now becoming teachers trying to navigate distance learning while navigating everything else social distancing has to offer. Kids are stressed. They are just trying to survive during this really confusing time. Having our brains tell us one thing and our environments tell us something else, well, this added stress is a perfect recipe for conflict. So, to save your sanity and your kids from even more nagging, let's talk about how to get your brain and your environment on the same page and figure a way to set your kids up for more success with distance learning. Step 1, find an area in your home that is separate from where you spend most of your time. This can be really anywhere, from that guest room you never use and, well, somehow turned into an extra closet, to a garage. You can also use common rooms like your living room or dining room. When we start to use common rooms or common areas, we'll need to do some reorganizing and maybe even add in some extra stuff, or as we behavior analysts like to call stimuli, to help tell your brain that this isn't the place you're going to be hanging out in or eating in, but this is the place you work. This is the place you learn in. But we'll get more on that later. A couple of warnings when you pick your workspace. You really want to avoid having workspaces be in the places where you relax, such as your bedroom. When we mix working with sleeping, then it makes it harder for us to sleep. This is why pediatricians, psychologists, therapists, and a lot of people who are a lot smarter than me recommend keeping entertainment and work out of our bedrooms. When we get into the habit of doing anything other than sleeping in the places where we're supposed to sleep, well, then guess what happens? Space confusion. Also, try to avoid having workspaces in our kitchens. This can lead to overeating or snacking during work times or learning times. Bad habits can be formed, such as needing something to eat or chew when working. After working in your kitchen for a while, you may find that you have weird cravings when you start to sit down at your computer. This is because you've trained your body to expect to eat when working. Don't worry, this will go away after a couple of days of working in a different space and breaking that working-eating relationship. Step 2, reduce distractions. When looking for a place to work or learn, try to find an area that can have reduced distractions, even if for just a short period of time. Avoid areas in the home with high traffic, such as the front or back doors where people might be walking in and out. To reduce distractions, we need to make sure that we're turning off our TVs, our tablets, our phones, and whatever else is distracting, including notifications on our computers or tablets that we're using for learning. If you have a separate device for learning than playing, that's the best. I would recommend using a school-provided device such as a Chromebook only for learning and keep the personal devices for play and leisure. If that's not possible, then look at creating a separate user account on that personal device. That way they would log into that other account for learning and have a separate account for playing and games. If that's not possible, then look at restricting apps and turning off all the notifications. Most devices have parent restrictions on them, and these can be turned up to limit students' access. Again, this would just be temporary and only during the learning period. How many of you have go-to apps that you click on every time you go onto your phone? If you have these things that you're going to go on first, that means that you're going to click on this and now you have to get off of it to get onto your learning. So it takes time away and it can be even more distracting. Now, think about your kids. What are they doing on their personal devices? Is it watching YouTube or TikTok or playing games? Whatever it is, this is probably the first thing that they're going to go to when they go on their device. And if you don't have all these kind of things set up, now not only are you struggling with getting them motivated to do work and do learning and get away from all the distractions, but now you have to take them off of something, which is an extra fight. So it's best if we can try and eliminate all of this from the get-go, and that's going to eliminate that extra struggle and make learning easier. Not easy, just easier. Step 3, be organized. Figure out what materials are needed for learning. Paper, pencils, erasers, calculators, chargers, headphones, whatever. And make sure all those items are ready to go so time isn't wasted trying to find these items, which could also lead to additional distractions and struggles with getting started. Organization doesn't have to be elaborate. Put the Pinterest down. It could be as easy as grabbing a Ziploc bag and putting everything in it. Some low-cost suggestions could be using a shoebox or a reusable food container. You can use an old purse or a bag or even a backpack. It doesn't have to be fancy. It just has to work. The fourth and final step. Add things to your environment which tell your brain it's time to start learning. We behavior analysts call this process stimulus discrimination training, or more simply, teaching your brain that when you see, hear, feel, or smell something, learning is about to happen. We have signals in our environment that tell us to do things all the time. For example, the routine of going to bed gets your body ready for sleep. A consistent routine builds in lots of signals that tell our brains sleep is available and ready to happen. This is stimulus control, and this is what we want to create for learning. We need to find things that are only or will only be associated with learning. When identifying these things, try to find things that will appeal to more than one sense at a time and things that can also be added and removed only for learning. When working with common areas, we really need to look at some things that we can add in or change in that environment so it looks very different. It doesn't have to be elaborate, and you want to work with what you've got. So I want to talk about how to rearrange your room to make it look different in a common space. So we're going to add some stuff like we talked about. So we're going to add some wrapping paper, and we're going to make this dining room and kitchen table look different from dining so it's ready to set you up for learning. Okay, so I've cleared off the table and we're going to make a learning mat that's going to be an additional signal to my daughter that it's time for her to start learning. So you can create a learning mat of whatever you want. You can make it as a fun activity where you take some construction paper or whatever you have around to make something that's only going to be present when she's learning or your child is learning. For me, I have some extra wrapping paper around, so I'm going to use the wrapping paper. It doesn't have to be fancy. Again, it just has to work. So now, I'm going to lay this out and get her learning supplies. And take this away. Now we have a workspace, just like that. And when all of this is done, take everything away, including the mat, put the trash keys back, and now it's a dining room. So you have very clear signals in your environment that tell you time to work versus not time to work. But you just have kind of a area in your kitchen where, even though kitchens may not be the best place for learning, but this is what you got. Again, let's make it work for what we have. So this is what our kitchen area looks like. This is where we eat most of the time. But if I'm going to make it ready for learning, I'm going to take all of this away. Put our learning mat here. And take this stuff away. Put it over here. And now, again, looks very different, and our learning mat is here. The nice thing about a learning mat is it can also go wherever your learner goes. If you have multiple children or multiple family members that are in the house, the same space that that kid was using to learn in or work in may not be available when that kid is ready to start working. So having something like this can go around the house. It can be here. We could also go and put it on the coffee table. And now I'm ready to learn, because maybe I have somebody else who's over at the kitchen table and needing that space. So this is something that's easy, quick, you can make it, and it can go wherever your learner goes, so that you can create a workspace that tells them it's time to work. And again, when it's not time to work, it goes away and you make your space back for learning and hanging out. Adding in signals that you hear can also help tell your brain it's time to start working. Playing music and nature sounds are good examples of this. I recommend playing something that you would mainly use just for studying or working, and avoid music that you listen to at other times. Quiet time could be another option, but this can be hard to create if you have multiple people living at home. Try things out with what you have and make it work for you, your family, and your child. Getting dressed or wearing different clothes can be powerful signals that learning is going to happen. I wouldn't go crazy here, but having your child put on a light sweater or socks when they study can help them get ready to learn. These things should be taken off when learning is done. The more signals that you have in the environment which tell your brain it's time to start working, the better. That's it. To recap, the 4 steps to creating a workspace are: Step 1, find an area in your home. Preferably that is separate from where you spend most of your time, but if not, make it look different for your learning time. Step 2, reduce the distractions. Step 3, be organized. Not elaborate, but just simple organization. And step 4, add things to the environment which tell your brain it's time to start learning. This is going to help keep your brain and your environment on the same page. Remember that all added items need to be personal to the student and can be removed when learning ends. The more these items are paired with learning, the stronger your signals will be. Final thoughts. Keep things simple. If it's taking a lot of time, and it's probably not worth it. Take these tips to create a workspace that can be ready in just a few minutes or so. And lastly, just as it's important for us to turn on learning, we also want to be able to turn it off. We need to be able to turn off learning so we can relax, so we can heal. Make sure that what you're doing in your home, it still stays your home. During this time, when everything is becoming overwhelming, it is really important that things turn off so we can get back to our families, get back to our home, and get back to ourselves. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you so much. And I'll be back next time when I talk about how to create a schedule. All right, good luck and happy finding a workspace.